From the huge roster of fans he'll be able to access, to keeping it as a safety net in case he can't do MMA anymore, let's take a look at all the reasons we may see Conor McGregor in the WWE sometime soon. It helps the fighter's case that the UFC and the WWE are now one company. After the litany of harassment lawsuits Vince McMahon had to deal with in the past few years, it's no surprise he wants someone to share the burden of running a multi-billion-dollar company. As fate would have it, the parent company of the UFC, Endeavor, would end up buying the WWE for a mind-boggling $12 billion. The merger gives Ari Emanuel control over 51% of the WWE, and Vince is convinced the combat sports powerhouse will have the same effects it did on the UFC over the past 7 years. Their revenue doubled. They landed a new deal with ESPN, and their viewership numbers have grown exponentially. For stars like Conor, this presents a golden opportunity to tap into the well-established, humongous fan base of the WWE, which, combined with the UFC, can boast around 1 billion viewers worldwide. It makes all kinds of sponsorship deals, media rights monetization, and completely new forms of content that I'm sure the businessman in Conor will appreciate. As a fighter, this may be the only way to stay engaged in the game. We have no idea whether his broken leg from 2021 could continue to affect his performances the more he does.
Look at that. He actually broke his leg.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's bad. That's actually.
I am again.
I'm guessing. Right?
He may be scheduled to fight later this year, and his leg seems perfectly fine to run on and work out on, but a UFC fight puts a different kind of stress on your body, and it may very well turn out that the Irishman can't sustainably fight in the octagon. Now, I'm not saying Conor is going to need a job anytime soon. The man has enough money in the bank and enough businesses to make sure his grandchildren never want for anything. But competing in front of a crowd, having fans adore you, being involved in a physical sport, it's everything that keeps the fighter going. And what a sight it would be, because the Irishman was born to work a crowd.
90 seconds in. Right in front of him.
He's talking to him now.
Oh, yeah. Hands at his hips, having a conversation, looking to finish the fight.
Conor will blend right into the WWE's over-the-top showmanship. I can almost imagine it. Mystic Mac strutting around the ring with his UFC belts, Irish music playing, and the fighter winning over the crowd with his snarky one-liners and immaculate suits. It's not even that strange when you think about it. UFC fighters have made the switch to the WWE in the past and had great careers. Take Ronda Rousey, for example, who changed career paths and never looked back. Celebrity appearances in the WWE are almost a normal occurrence now.
Got a load on Ruby Riott as well.
What a selfless act by Ruby, trying to come to her.
For WWE superstar Sheamus, it's only a matter of time before the former two-division world champion makes the move to pro wrestling. He's gone on record to invite Conor to the ring in a performance with himself, which would be cool since Sheamus is Irish too, and champions the opinion that McGregor is an extremely natural fit for the sport. More than anything, it's a new avenue for him to explore. Conor's pretty much done it all in MMA, and he's already had his affair with boxing. Even McGregor thinks the WWE would be an interesting option. The Notorious One has even taken to Twitter with his pro wrestling aspirations. He posted an edit of himself wearing a UFC belt on one shoulder and the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the other, and titled with a simple hashtag, "It's inevitable." He followed those tweets up with congratulations to Endeavor for picking up the WWE in a powerhouse move, and commented on the combined $21 billion plus valuation of the WWE and UFC, but hasn't always looked at the WWE with such kind eyes. Back in 2016, when Conor was riding the peak of his career and CM Punk still hadn't fought in the UFC, he addressed the professional wrestlers very rudely in an interview and only had a couple of compliments for Brock Lesnar. But the animal isn't a good example of a pro wrestler.
They are not right in the head, some of them. I mean, the new age are dweebs. Let's be honest here, they're absolute dweebs. But the old school guys are legends, you know what I mean? Ric Flair was a legend, the McMahons, of course.
Not only is he a freak of nature, but he was also a Division I wrestler in college and a UFC champion. The Irishman said he couldn't even respect Brock because of the number of steroids he was on in the UFC. clearly, with age comes wisdom. And now that Conor has tested the waters in more than one fighting style, he probably looks at other athletes with a bit more respect. Even his agent thought it would be a good idea to eventually make the move, and this was long before the two promotions merged. Back in 2016, lead manager of Paradigm Sports and Conor's agent, Adi Attar, said that if Conor ever gets an offer from the WWE, their team would very seriously consider it. If they were thinking about it already 7 years ago, then they have a lot more reason to consider it now. Their job isn't just getting the fighter the best fights, it's setting him up for the future and protecting him from unnecessary damage. Now, the WWE isn't a hazard-free environment, but it's a whole lot safer than being a cage fighter. Conor's hitting his mid-30s now, and will soon be in the twilight of his career. I feel like his window to win championships is already past him.
Undisputed UFC featherweight champion of the world, the notorious Conor McGregor!
He might not be able to compete at the highest level like he's used to, and I don't see the notorious one settling for the role of gatekeeper. If you were to ask Triple H Paul Levesque in the business world, he'd tell you that he'd take Conor on in a heartbeat. He told The Telegraph that McGregor has all the athletic ability and the personality that he needs to be the biggest superstar the WWE's ever seen. And the WWE proved they can handle a transitioning cage fighter with the storylines they made for Ronda and Brock. Of course, Conor is a really easy guy to write a character for. He'll essentially just play himself. But he is one of those unique characters that you could pair up with anybody and the rivalry would become huge. The Notorious One is a natural heel in pro wrestling. He's gone on record to insult nearly the entire UFC roster a few times. And there was a major blowback a few years ago after some particularly colorful insults. The entire WWE fanbase, along with a huge part of the roster, slammed McGregor on Twitter for overestimating himself. And even his apology felt like it was written by a WWE writer. I just meant to say I could knock the entire roster's head off, and twice on Sundays, said the Irishman on Twitter. But dozens of wrestlers like Chris Jericho, Sheamus, and Kurt Angle invited Conor to the WWE to see what he was made of. It may have all been internet trash talk back then, but the introduction of Conor to the WWE as a pompous cage fighter who thinks he's better than everyone else would sell stadiums. For now, he is set to take on Michael Chandler at some point this year and coach The Ultimate Fighter. But who knows what the next couple of years may reveal for MMA's biggest star. Well, folks, that's all you need to know about Conor's chances of becoming a WWE superstar.